My start in music was very unexpected. I actually started studying psychology and anthropology at university, and in my first year at university, on my 20th birthday, I went down to the beach and I was thinking about the year ahead of me and the fact that I was hopefully going to be a psychologist one day. And while I was sitting there, these words came into my mind and just wouldn't go away. So I found a piece of paper, so I'm just going to write them down, get them out the way. And when I started writing, I just didn't stop. And when I got to the end of the page, I looked at what I'd written and I just knew it was a song. And they just kept coming right the way through my degree. And I eventually had to teach myself how to write music. I then went for singing lessons after 2 years of writing songs because it became very clear that I needed to sing these songs, even though it terrified me. And I always say to people, I didn't choose music, it chose me.
Despite her love for music, after graduating, she moved away from it and instead worked as a casting director in the film industry, working in both South Africa and the UK. While she appeared fine to the rest of the world, not being able to live out her passion was slowly killing her inside.
It took me 7 years from writing my first song to finally having the courage to record a demo and start getting out into the music industry and putting my music out there and seeing where it went. And that journey of 7 years helped me firstly grow as a songwriter and also grow as a woman to have the courage to believe that it was possible. And a lot of that journey came through not only people supporting me and people believing me, but also in some personal loss, in the form of my father passing away when I was 24. Which really caused me to stop and think about how short life is and how little time we have to do the things we want to do, and how fragile it is and that the people we love can get taken away so quickly. And it was on losing him that I decided that I needed to do things that I wanted to do and not leave them until it was too late. I found myself in such a painful place that I really needed to find a way to heal. And I had read a book by Paulo Coelho called The Pilgrimage, about an incredible walk across Spain to Santiago de Compostela, and it really resonated with me as something I would love to do, but it was one of those things that I could easily love to do and never do. So I decided to walk across Spain, and in June 2000 I set off by myself to France, took a train down to the border of Spain and walked 800 kilometers alone across a country where I didn't speak the language, I didn't know anyone, I didn't know if I had it in me to actually make the distance. And by the time I reached Santiago de Compostela, I had shown myself that I could walk across a country, I could face my fears, and if I could do that, then there wasn't anything that I couldn't do. And that really was the turning point where I started to say, if I have a dream, I have it in me to follow it.
After returning from Spain, Verity followed her dream and recorded her first 5-track demo. She then moved to America to pursue her dream, and on her 27th birthday, she received her first positive feedback.
And that definitely was the starting point of going, right, I am Verity and I'm a singer and I'm a songwriter.
Even though Verity studied towards a degree in psychology and anthropology, she was drawn like a moth to a flame to the art of music.
When the sun sets tomorrow, I hope it sets on all your sorrow.
I started telling people that I'm Verity, I'm a singer and I'm a songwriter. And the more I said it, the more I became it. And I started performing, I got a great vocal coach, I won some competitions in the States, I was given a working visa to be there as a singer and a songwriter. And in amongst all of that, I decided to come home. Even though there were so many possibilities for me there, I also realized that my roots were at home, my family was here, the people that I love are here. And I came home and started building my career here. And I really discovered that dreams are all very well when we're just thinking about them, but when I actually stepped out my front door and started to make these dreams happen for myself, the journey was much harder than I'd anticipated. It took a lot more perseverance and courage than I'd imagined, because it was really easy to go, well, if I did that one day, it wouldn't be that difficult. But once I started, I had to overcome my fear, my insecurity, things that, wanting to wait for it just to happen for me, and really understanding that no one out there is going to make my dreams come true. I'm the only person who can make my dreams come true. People will help me, people will support me once I start, but I had to take that first step, and I think that first step was the hardest.
You are as big as the dream you dream.
I think the biggest obstacle for me was maintaining belief in myself, because once I started, there was so much self-doubt that could creep in, like, who am I to dream this dream? Why should it happen for me? And, kind of move away from the fear to just go back to security and earning a set income and knowing that I was going to be okay, and having to trust that the money would come from somewhere and that I could make this happen, I could make this work, that my music did have relevance. And for me, the biggest obstacle has been understanding that I was worthy of even dreaming it was possible. And I realized that I had to always come back to what had been my intention with my life. What do I want to do? And for me, it's to inspire and uplift and make a difference. And I really think music can do that. I really think music can inspire and connect people. I think it can comfort and console them. And my dream was that my music would do that for people and mean that for people. And it was great getting out there and performing, but at some point I realized that if I wanted to do that work in the world, having an album was going to be the next step. And it's a big step because it's a financial step, and I looked at what was available to me. Could I get a record deal? How well did South African music do in terms of sales? Could I do it independently? And everywhere I looked, I was confronted with problems. It was going to cost 200,000 to 300,000 rand to do a decent album. It was going to cost double that to market it, and South African record sales weren't traditionally that good for English South African artists, and because I would be competing with the best international artists. So everywhere I looked, I saw problems, and it definitely was a point where I thought, well, maybe this is too much for me. My sister's been one of those people who's been with me and watched my journey and given me the support when I've needed it. And we sat down to look at how do I do an album without going into debt, without making some really bad financial decisions, just to get an album out there. And it didn't look possible. But the more we started thinking about it and using creative thinking and looking at all the negatives, all the positives, the interesting possibilities, we started seeing that maybe it was possible. Because I thought, if the problem is not having money to record an album and then not knowing if I'd ever sell enough copies to make back the money I'd spent, then I could maybe turn that on its head and sell an album that I hadn't recorded.
Yes,